episode of UFO-CHATS. Today we're going to talk about one of the lesser known alien abduction cases. So this one is the Pascagoula abductions. This happened in 1973 in Pascagoula, Mississippi. And it's, a little lesser known. I only found out about it because a follower of mine on Instagram messaged me and asked me to do it as the topic of a video. So we're going to talk about that one today. This one's going to be a little bit brief, but it's good information, it's good stuff, so yeah, it's worth it. Okay, so to kick things off, we're going to kind of take our mindsets and go back to 1973. This happened October 11th in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and we have two men who were out fishing on a pier on the west end of the Pascagoula River, and they were 42-year-old Charles Hickson and 19-year-old Calvin Parker, and they, were just out for a night fish, enjoying themselves. It was late evening, dark enough that, any sort of weird thing in the sky is really obvious to see. And they were minding their own business, doing some fishing, where they started hearing some whirring and buzzing sounds up in the sky, which we know is not a super normal thing to just hear out in the world. So they both reported that they saw two flashing lights that were blue, flashing in the sky overhead, and an oval-shaped object that was 30 to 40 feet across and 8 to 10 feet tall, which is huge. That's a massive spaceship. I mean, I don't really have a frame of reference for how big spaceships are supposed to be, but that seems, just excessive to me. But, so as most people would do, they kind of stood and watched for a little bit to see what was going to happen, until inevitably they got sucked up into the spaceship, with no recollection of how that actually happened, by the way. Neither of them actually know how they made it onto the spaceship, but they know that they were on the ground and they were fishing, and then very suddenly they were not on the ground and not fishing, and they were inside the spaceship. So an interesting part of this for me is that both of these men claimed that they were conscious but paralyzed throughout this whole encounter, right? So they, were awake and knew what was going on, but couldn't move or say anything or do anything about it. And during this moment of conscious paralysis, they encountered these three strange creatures who had slit-like mouths and they said crab-like pinchers on their hands, who just ran experiments on them and did tests on them before inevitably letting them go. What's interesting to me about that is that later on, when they were interviewed again about this situation they found themselves in, they both reported that they were unconscious for most of it, which is interesting because I don't know, personally, I don't know where you draw the line between, I'm unconscious, great, now I'm awake. You know what I mean? And especially in a moment of paralysis, it's how do you really know what was happening there? This is making a lot more sense in my head than it is coming out of my mouth. But I don't know, I think that definitely explains how they don't know how they got onto the spaceship or how they got off, just that eventually they did. But it's interesting to me that these, extraterrestrial beings would allow them to be conscious for enough of it to get a description of them, I don't know. I mean, I've never been abducted by aliens, so I don't know if that's standard for them. Just be awake enough for that you can see who you're dealing with. I don't know. I'm not sure. If I ever get abducted, I will let you all know. But to me, that just seems kind of weird. I don't know. The going back and forth between being we were conscious but paralyzed and we were unconscious is strange to me. But on that note, there were a bunch of ufologists who did tests on these men afterwards and conducted experiments on them. I say experiments, but I mean more I guess interviews, psychological experiments to try to determine the validity of their experience. And all of these ufologists that did these tests on them confirmed that there's no possible way that they could have made this situation up, which is interesting because, you know, it seems like a very easy thing to make up, which you guys know me at this point. You know that I like to believe through and through that everything is real. But some of these, you know, obviously from a skeptic's point of view, it would be pretty easy to say that that didn't really happen. Maybe you dreamed it, whatever. Anyway, these like experts came in and did these psychological tests on these men to confirm the validity of their experience. They basically kind of just concluded that there was no possible way that they could have made it up because they were far too traumatized and like too deep to the core, you know, like too, like far too like messed up from this experience to have it be something they just made up, which is interesting to me. Just, I don't know, seems weird. So this is like a cool tidbit. So July of this year, July 2020, this incident report and the recording of their original witness statement resurfaced on the internet, which is cool. It's like the anniversary, well, not really, because, well, I mean, now it's October. Maybe it's the anniversary. I don't know. Anyway, for it to randomly just resurface 47 years later is like super weird. But the cop who originally gave this recording when it resurfaced to Parker, Calvin Parker, the 19-year-old who was involved in this situation, was originally involved in the case in the first place, which is super cool. Like, this man, he wasn't involved in the field. He didn't go and take their statements. He didn't like do any of that work, but he was one of the people who was back at the station fielding calls about the strange lights in the sky that night. And he reported later on that they got somewhere around 50 calls from people trying to figure out what these strange lights in the sky were. And it's kind of interesting because it just kind of comes full circle in that moment. So that being a pretty famous alien case, there isn't much about it. That's kind of the extent of it. I think like we definitely had a little treat with Betty and Barney Hill and all of the information that they had, and all of the weird things that happened to them afterwards. I think that was more of like a little like, here's a little something as a treat, whereas this one is very like matter of fact and like, this is what happened, that's it, that's what you got. So that's kind of really all I have for you guys. There's not like much to this case at all, other than these two men were fishing, and to my knowledge, I mean, in my research, I didn't find any like lasting effects on them from it. I mean, you know, granted, like, this was a traumatic experience for these two men, so there's a good chance that they never spoke about it again. I had a hard time finding information about it, so that's that on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this like half a video. Next time I will definitely have some more for you. And keep your eyes peeled because this month I have been doing the crypto chats videos with a different spin on them and focusing more on urban legends, you know, in honor of Halloween. And my Halloween episode will be coming out soon, and it's going to be really fun and really great. So if you haven't watched those yet, just hop on over to the next playlist of my channel, and I feel like you guys might like it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you have any more information about this, because, you know, I scoured the internet and sometimes I feel like maybe the internet doesn't want me to see some things, because I will search for hours and find nothing, and it's kind of hurtful, for being honest, but that's okay. If you have any more information about this, hit me up. Follow me on Instagram. My link is in my YouTube bio. Send me a message. Like, I love to hear from you all. And also, if you have any more alien encounters that you'd like me to talk about, definitely hit me up. This is a once a month kind of playlist. You know, I'm trying to get the best ones possible out there for you all, so let me know. And again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!